Healers aren't self-appointed, they're recognized by pattern. If the same 11 signals keep finding you, it's not coincidence. It's your curriculum showing its face. From hermetic whispers attributed to Thoth to modern readouts of heart-brain coherence, the blueprint repeats. A magnetic pull to the hidden, a wound that became a doorway, a quiet presence that steadies rooms before you speak. This film maps those markers with both myth and mechanism, what they look like in ordinary days, how to test them without superstition, and how to train the gift so it doesn't burn you out. We'll move from recognition to responsibility, seeing the signs, breaking the old scripts of overload, and building a clean path of service. If these patterns feel uncomfortably accurate, you weren't derailed, you were drafted. Start here, not to claim a title, but to remember a function, carry light where others cannot yet see. You don't audition for this path, it starts auditioning you. Signal 1 is the magnetic call, the unexplainable pull toward symbols, mysteries, and the shelves people told you not to touch. As a kid, you lingered at the weird section, tracing sigils you couldn't name. As an adult, you drift toward the liminal, dream journals, ancient scripts, breathwork circles, hands-on practices that make no sense to friends who only trust what beeps. It isn't a phase, it's a compass. The images don't just interest you, they charge you. You feel it in the hands and gut. A click, a yes, a small current under the skin. The more you follow that curiosity, the more the world answers back. A stranger says the exact line you needed. A book falls open to the right page. A dream stitches meaning into last week's confusion. What used to be background turns signal. It's not louder than life. It's more precise. The call doesn't shout, it selects. Some transmissions are too candid for YouTube. We keep them in our free newsletter. Go to the link in the description, enter your email, and for a limited time you'll also receive our ebook free. This isn't a reward, it's access you shouldn't miss. The call is seductive, yes, but it isn't the test. Signal 2 is the wounded healer initiation. It arrives as illness, injury, loss, betrayal, burnout, a near miss that rearranges your inner furniture. Not punishment, pattern. A storm snaps the old scaffolding and forces you to build new pathways. Slower breath, deeper noticing, humility that can hear what rushing always drowns out. Pain changes your lens. After the crisis, you start reading the room differently. You catch the flicker in someone's eyes before their mouth lies. You hear the story under the story. Your timing changes. You speak less. You sense more. If you've ever walked into a space and felt the temperature of the mood before you saw a face, you've met the second signal at work. Here's the mechanism in plain terms. Experience, installs, loops. A shock heightens interoception, the way the body reports on itself. So your nervous system gets better at detecting small shifts in pressure, tone, and breath. Pair that with meaning making. Why did this happen? And you get a new map. The same street, different contours. You didn't wake up special, you became precise. The gift isn't the pain, it's what the pain tuned, and tuning can be trained. Still, the call and the wound don't confer a title. They demand a response. The pattern shows up, but do you stabilize it or leak? Many stop at identity, I'm a healer, and skip the craft. That's where overwhelm breeds. Porous boundaries, heroic rescuing, martyr postures, exhaustion that pretends to be devotion. The clean path begins smaller and steadier. You start by noticing what happens around you without claiming credit. Rooms get quieter when you arrive. Friends confess without prompting. Strangers tell you something they haven't told anyone. Don't rush to name it, log it. Precision grows when you measure. To ground this, build a record. Note when the magnetic call intensifies, what you were reading, where you were, who you were with. Note the body signals, warmth in the chest, tingling in the hands, a drop in jaw tension, the way your eyes soften. Do the same after hard days. Track what calms you quickly, what re-inflames you, what drains you most. Patterns emerge. Maybe forests reset you in 20 minutes while coffee shops take an hour. Maybe water works better than conversation. Maybe silence with one person is more restorative than laughs with 10. You're not being precious. You're learning your instrument. Then comes the delicate part, sharing without centering yourself. You can acknowledge the doorway the wound created without turning every moment into your memoir. When someone trusts you with their pain, resist the impulse to fix it fast so you can feel useful. Breathe with them instead, letting their timing set the pace. Healing presence isn't a show, it's a field. A field forms when you're coherent, attention, breath, posture, and intent pointing the same way. That coherence is contagious. It steadies hearts, slows speech, widens choices. People leave lighter without knowing why. If the first signal is the compass, and the second is the crucible, the next step is craft. We'll move from raw sensitivity to trained resonance, from absorbing everything to letting what isn't yours pass through. The work doesn't make you special, it makes you useful. And usefulness, quiet, repeatable, accountable, is how this path honors its source. Signal 3 is the contract, the sense that what happened to you wasn't random punishment but choreography, not fate as a cage, but an agreement you only half remember. If I forget who I am, let this wake me. When you hold your life this way, the pattern stops feeling like harassment and starts reading like curriculum, the same kinds of people, the same tests, the same cliff edges, repeating not to break you, but to make your choices unmistakable. The moment you shift from why me to what for, something changes in your body. Shoulders drop, breath widens. You stop bargaining with reality and start apprenticing to it. This isn't about blaming yourself for harm. It's about reclaiming authorship after harm. Contracts are not an excuse for someone else's behavior. They are a lens that gives you leverage. If I chose the lesson, I can choose the practice. If I chose the practice, I can graduate. Mechanically, this reframing matters. Meaning reorganizes the nervous system. When the story becomes coherent, the stress chemistry softens. Vigilance turns into attention. Instead of scanning for danger, you begin to track data. What precedes the spiral, what softens it, what moves it through. That's when you start noticing micro cues you missed before. The way your jaw tightens 15 minutes before you say yes to something you don't want. The way your hands warm when you're actually on the right path. The way your sleep changes the night before an important conversation. The contract gives you context, and context gives you choice. You are not manifesting pain. You are mastering pattern. Signal 4 is empathic overload becoming mastery. Before training, your sensitivity works like an open window on a windy day. Everything blows in. Moods, aches, fragments of other people's stories ride your body like it's a bus. You find yourself exhausted after small talk, foggy after crowded rooms, inexplicably low after helping someone you love. You try to be less sensitive, and it hurts. You try to be more helpful, and you drown. The shadow of the gift is compulsion, rescuing to avoid your own discomfort, absorbing to prove you care, reading the room so hard you forget to read yourself. This is where many would-be healers stall out, caught between a real capacity and a leaky method. The way through is not to deaden the sense, it's to direct it. Feel with, not for. Resonate, don't absorb. Let data in, let story out. Begin with the body, because empathy lives there. Notice how other people's states register for you, not as abstract vibes, but as specific signals. Maybe anxiety arrives in you as a fizzing in the forearms. Maybe grief sits as a stone behind the sternum. Maybe deceit shows up as a cold patch on the back of the neck. Map it. Give each sensation a plain name, and stay with sensation longer than the narrative your mind wants to write. Over time, you'll differentiate what is mine, what is not. What is ours? Because we're in the same field right now. That last category matters. When two nervous systems share space, they entrain, heart rates drift toward each other, breaths find a similar pace. You can use that intentionally. Slow your breath, and the room often follows. Soften your shoulders, and the conversation loosens. Let your eyes rest on one neutral point, and panic has fewer places to hook. Boundaries refine this further. Not hard walls that keep the world out, but living edges that decide what passes through you. A simple edge. Place one hand low on your belly and one on your chest before you speak into a charged moment. Feel the weight of your hands until your voice drops half an octave. Speak from there. Another edge. When someone's story begins to flood your body, plant your feet, uncross your legs, and find one stable object in your periphery. A chair leg, a door frame, a tree outside the window. Keep a thread of attention tethered there while you listen. You're not dissociating. You're refusing to be washed away. The other person still feels met because you are present, but you are not porous. Precision replaces performance. Then there's aftercare, the piece most skip. Finish a hard conversation and step outside for 90 seconds. Not 10 minutes, 90 seconds. That's enough time for one full wave of chemistry to rise and fall if you let it. Breathe, low, through the nose. Let your gaze go wide, so your nervous system registers horizon, not trap. If water is near, touch it. If not, imagine rinsing your forearms under a tap. Picture what isn't yours running off your skin. You're telling your body, we can stand down. Little rituals like this teach your system to complete cycles. Over weeks, the backlog empties. You stop carrying yesterday into today. Mastery doesn't make you invincible. It makes you available. You can be with pain without becoming it. You can sense the pileup in a space and choose where to stand so your body doesn't pay the bill. You can end a session with more coherence than you started with, which is the test that matters. And you learn to say no, not because you're cold, but because you're protecting the channel that serves everyone else. This is the quiet click you begin to trust. The contract gave you a map, and your sensitivity gave you the compass. Calibration gives you the roadworthiness to travel without burning out. The point is simple, and it isn't glamorous. You don't get picked by titles. You get recognized by outcomes. Rooms settle, people regulate, you recover quickly. Your yes means yes, and your no doesn't leak guilt. The same life that once undid you starts to become the training ground that steadies you. When the next test arrives, and it will, you'll know it's not a verdict. It's a rehearsal, and you have lines you've practiced. Signal 5 is nature attunement, the way your whole system remembers itself the moment you touch ground. You step under trees, and the mind that felt like a crowded lift suddenly has space between floors. The sea takes your breath and gives it back slower. In the mountains, your ribs move again, as if the stones themselves are teaching you pace. This isn't romance for postcards, it's physiology. Your nervous system listens for cues, and the earth gives clean ones. Wind with a steady cadence, water with a measurable pulse, light that shifts on an honest clock. Where the city stacks interruptions and compresses attention into tiny boxes, the living world widens your focus without stealing it. You don't need to try to be present. Presence happens to you. You'll know this signal by its speed and specificity. 10 minutes under a broadleaf canopy, and your shoulders remember gravity instead of carrying the ceiling. Bare feet on wet grass, and the static in your head bleeds off like a radio finding the right station. A storm breaks, and as the pressure drops, you can feel the room's tone soften even before the first rain hits. If you're honest, you've always had places that behave like power sockets for your body. Beaches you accidentally detour to, a scruffy patch of park you make excuses to cross, the roof where you watch the blue go violet. These aren't escapes, they are calibration points. The earth is not background. It is a musician with perfect pitch, and you're tuning to it. Mechanically think of coherence. Your heart and breath can move in rhythm with each other. Or they can argue. When they argue, your thoughts fragment, your timing goes jagged, and your presence feels loud but thin. When they move together, your attention deepens, your choices slow down in a good way, and rooms regulate just because you walked in. Nature incentivizes the second state. The sea's inhale and exhale hands you a metronome. The forest's layered quiet invites your hearing to go wide instead of hunting threats. Dawn light tells your chemistry that it's morning without you asking a device. Even the ground under you, soil, stone, sand, communicates safety in a language the body never forgot. There is a reason that, after a long day, touching the bark of a tree for 20 seconds can do more than 20 minutes of scrolling. One closes loops, the other opens tabs. Make this practical. Build a personal atlas of places that reset you fast. Don't chase hashtags. Find the spot you actually use. Maybe it's the scraggly riverbank behind the industrial park. Maybe it's a cemetery path where the air is always a degree cooler. Maybe it's a stairwell with a square of sky. Go there on purpose and track what changes. Breath, depth, eye softness, temperature in the hands, the amount of effort it takes to hear your own thoughts. Put it in a small notebook or the back page of your phone's notes app. Over a month, you'll see what works reliably, and reliability matters more than aesthetic. A healer who can reset in 10 minutes behind a supermarket does more good than a healer who needs a Bali retreat to feel like themselves. Traveling without shoes isn't magic, but it can be medicine. When circumstances allow, stand barefoot on ground that's had weather on it. Dirt, stone, wood that has known rain. Be still enough to actually feel the micro sways of your posture. If the ground's cold, don't grit your teeth. Soften your jaw and let the sensation come all the way in. You're teaching your system that contact is safe, that the world supports your weight, that you don't have to hover to survive. If bare feet aren't an option, put your palms on something alive. A railing is fine in a pinch. A tree is better. Hands are honest. They tell the truth faster than thoughts. Make seasonal rituals small and stubborn. In spring, take 10 slow breaths against a south-facing wall and let the sun tell your skin that the world is warming. In summer, dunk your face in cold water until your system chooses the long exhale. In autumn, stand still long enough to hear leaves move without seeing them, noticing how your attention spreads when you stop asking your eyes to do all the work. In winter, find one star you can recognize and look for it nightly until your body can locate calm by constellation. These aren't aesthetic flourishes. They are agreements. I will meet the world where it is so my chemistry doesn't have to do all the labor alone. There is hygiene here too. The same sensitivity that lets you hear a river's rhythm also hears the buzz of a transformer box and the angry breath of a street. Don't make an enemy of the city. Learn to route through it. On a loud pavement, widen your gaze to include sky. Any blue or gray will do, and walk to the beat of something slower than your feet. A distant siren that dopplers away, your own counted breath, the cadence of a memory that calms you. If you have to be indoors under lights that lie, keep a plant within reach and a bowl of water on the desk. Your body treats both as small promises that life is still here. It's enough. And bring nature into the work, not as decor but as collaborator. Before a session or a hard conversation, step outside for 2 minutes and let your eyes take in horizontal lines, roofs, hedges, hills. Horizon tells the nervous system it has room. Predators don't jump from horizons, they jump from corners. Finish by feeling your feet while your eyes stay on that line. When you go back inside, keep 10% of your attention on contact points, soles, seat, the weight of your hands. You don't have to choose between sensing the other person and staying in yourself. You can be rooted and receptive at once. Rooted wins. The caution: don't turn this into an identity performance. You don't need to announce your grounding or post your ritual. Nature is immune to your brand. Let the practice be quiet so the benefits can be loud. If someone joins you, teach by example. Pace, breath, noticing, not by lecture. The point is not to create dependence on a location. It's to grow the capacity to carry the location in your body. A healer who can bring Forrest's nervous system into a hospital corridor changes outcomes. A healer who needs silence to be kind won't get far. In time, you'll start to notice something simple and strange. Places recognize you back. The bench under the plane tree greets you with a draft that wasn't there. For the last person, the same gull lands near your book 3 mornings in a row. The alley cat sits closer. None of this needs a story. Let it be what it is, a sign that your field is less noisy, your presence less sharp, your promises more believable. The earth as tuning fork isn't poetry. It's a protocol, and it's one of the cleanest ways to keep your gift from curdling into fatigue. When in doubt, touch ground. When you're done, thank it the way you thank a friend who held the other end of the rope while you climbed. Signal 6 is the night speaking back, the way guidance arrives when your guard is down, and the mind stops pretending it runs the show. You've had this since you were small, dreams that felt more like visits than fantasies, images that lodged in the body like instructions, mornings where you woke already knowing what had to be said or done. Call it prophetic if you like. At minimum, it is practical. Sleep is not pause. Sleep is a workshop. While you rest, your brain sorts the day's noise, reconsolidates memory, and tries out solutions you wouldn't risk when you're busy performing being sensible. The old texts framed it as Thoth's classroom. Modern language calls it REM integration. Different costumes, same doorway. You recognize this signal because the dream has a charge. It lands with texture. The colors are slightly too saturated. The sound seems to come from inside your chest. The room in the dream feels like a place you could find on a map if only you knew the right city. Sometimes you meet the gone, grandparents who look younger than you remember, a friend who died mid-sentence, picking up exactly where they left off. Sometimes it's diagnostics. Your knee starts throbbing in the dream right before it blows on a run. You taste metal and book a blood test. You hear the particular wheeze that tells you a child's cough isn't the common kind. Sometimes it's instruction so plain it could be a list. Slow down, drink water, do not sign that. Watch the left-hand door. When it's real, you don't need to convince yourself. The body says yes. Mechanically, it's not mystical so much as merciful. When the prefrontal narrator sleeps, the rest of you gets a turn at the microphone. The limbic system rinses emotion. Association networks try unusual pairings without being judged for weirdness. The nervous system rehearses threat and safety in a simulation you'll barely remember but will still carry as a change in posture the next day. Memory reconsolidation gives you one of the rare gifts of adult life, a second chance at the meaning of yesterday. That's why a nightmare can be medicine. It forces a story to complete that you avoided while awake. If you meet it cleanly, you wake with less static, not more. Make night your ally, not your drama. Seed it, receive it, sort it. 10 minutes before sleep, close the loop on your day. Write 3 lines about what happened and 1 honest question you want help with. Keep it plain. How do I handle this conversation without bleeding? Where am I leaking energy? What am I not seeing about this client? Place the notebook where you can reach it without fully waking the light. Then make a simple promise to your own mind. If you bring me something useful, I will capture it. When you wake in the night, because you will, don't chase it. Stay at the edge. Keep your eyes closed and speak the fragments softly into the dark. Blue door, cracked tile, sister's laugh. Don't rush. 3. That is enough to keep the thread. In the morning, before the phone colonizes you, write the images down exactly as they were. Not essays. Images, feelings, single lines. If you don't respect small pieces, the large ones stop arriving. The test of dream work is not how interesting your stories are. It's how different your behavior is. This is where many people steer wrong. They turn the night into a stage and themselves into the star. Healers don't get that luxury. You're not collecting marvels. You're collecting data. A snake might be fear 1 month and medicine the next. Water could be overwhelm on Tuesday and relief by Friday. Run the symbols through your life, not a stranger's book. Ask what that color, that creature, that place has been in your experience. Then verify with daylight. If the dream tells you to rest and you smash another 12-hour day, don't complain that the well is dry. If the dream tells you to apologize and you draft a paragraph of justification, don't pretend you didn't understand. The night will keep speaking, but it stops negotiating. There's an ethics to this. Dreams sometimes bring other people. Their faces appear, their voices speak, their secrets slip. You are not entitled to act on everything you see. Ask consent before you share anything that names someone else. If the message is for you, change a boundary, stop rescuing, return a debt, make the change, and keep the details private. If the message is for them, the opportunity will present itself without you forcing the door. Guidance respects timing, so should you. If you're drawn to lucid dreaming, treat it like learning an instrument, not like hacking reality. The point isn't to fly around proving you're in charge. It's to practice staying present when the world gets fluid. The same skill you build by noticing a dream sign and choosing to breathe instead of panic is the skill you'll use when a client's story starts to flood your body at midday. You're rehearsing steadiness. If you wake often at 4 with a head full of buzzing thoughts, don't fight the clock. 4 is a thin place. Sit upright for 5 minutes. Eyes soft, sensing your hands. Ask your question once, quietly. If nothing comes, go back to bed without making it a failure. Nighttime is exquisitely keyed to shame. Refuse the story that says you're doing it wrong. Keep the invitation open and light. There are small, unglamorous things that help. Darken the room enough that your body recognizes night. Give your gut a break for 2 hours before bed, so your chemistry isn't fighting digestion when it could be sorting meaning. If you can, keep a glass of water by the bed and drink it before you pick up a pen. The body reads that as safety and lets you recall more. Place something stabilizing on your nightstand. A stone, a photo of someone wise, a branch. Not as superstition, as a promise. Even if the dream takes you into the deep, you have a shoreline to come back to. Morning, after. Don't decode immediately. Let the images breathe for an hour. Often the meaning will announce itself in the shower, or halfway through making tea, or as you tie your shoes. Chase less. Notice more. Pay attention to the days after a strong dream. You may find that the field around you behaves differently. People soften quicker. Children look at you longer, as if recognizing a signal they trust. Rooms feel slightly more in time with your breath. That's because you are more in time with yourself. When night work is clean, your waking presence changes without you pushing it. That is a reliable sign that you're not just entertaining yourself with symbolism, you're reducing static, increasing coherence, and bringing back something the day can actually use. And accept that not all nights are teaching nights. Some are just tired. Some are empty, because emptiness is the lesson. Nothing to fix, nothing to fetch, nothing to prove. Those nights are precious. They build capacity. The point isn't to squeeze meaning from every darkness. The point is to cultivate a relationship with the part of you that sees better when your eyes are closed. If you tend that relationship with respect and restraint, the dream world tends you back. It will warn you before you spill. It will nudge you toward people who can hold your work cleanly. It will walk you toward the door you keep pretending you can't see in daylight. Night sight doesn't make you special. It makes you responsible. If you're going to carry light where others can't yet see, you need to know how to see when the lights are off. Treat the bed like an altar, the pen like a net, the morning like a threshold. Step over it awake. You know the feeling when a room settles, and nobody can explain why. Signal 7 is field coherence, the quiet power that stabilizes people before a single technique begins. It's not charisma, not volume, not a trick of lighting. It's physiology, meeting intention. When your breath, heart, posture, and attention move in the same direction, you broadcast a pattern other bodies can read. Without words, a scattered team slows, a frightened child breathes deeper, A grieving friend unclenches their jaw. With you, the air feels less jagged. People don't know why they trust the moment. They just do. Think of it as tuning forks. Two forks near each other begin to sing the same note. Two nervous systems in proximity begin to share a tempo. Hearts shift toward a common rhythm. Breaths synchronize. Voices soften. The fancy phrase is autonomic entrainment. The felt sense is simple. With you, it feels easier to be human. You didn't mesmerize anyone. You took responsibility for your state first, and their bodies took the invitation. Mechanically, coherence is measurable. When you breathe a little slower than habit, about 5 or 6 breaths per minute, your heart's micro-variations form a smoother wave, and your brain stops sprinting. Vagal tone improves, attention widens, timing returns. You don't become sleepy, you become steady. People can lean on steady. The opposite is also measurable. Shallow chest breathing, shoulders lifted, eyes hunting for threats, sentences full of rush. That field agitates others, even when your words are nice. If you've ever told someone, "Don't worry," while your jaw was clenched, you felt how content loses to signal. Make it practical. Before you cross a threshold into a charged room, take 60 seconds to arrive. Feel the soles of your feet as if you were reading Braille with the ground. Relax your tongue from the roof of your mouth. Let your eyes soften so the world comes to you instead of you reaching out to grab it. Inhale through the nose for 5. Exhale for 5 or 6, letting the exhale finish without pushing. On the last breath, choose an intent no longer than a line. Be simple, be kind, see clearly. Carry it like a small stone in your pocket. Felt, not flaunted. People will tell you you have a calming voice. It's not the pitch, it's the cadence. Coherent breath makes coherent speech. Shorter sentences that finish, pauses that let their system catch up, a prosody that says, "There is time." Listen with your whole posture. Keep your shoulders heavy and your hands still. Nod if it's honest. When the other person's breath shortens, widen yours by 1 count and do nothing else. If you've earned trust, they'll follow in under a minute. If they don't, respect their tempo and stop trying to lead. Coherence is permission, not control. There's an ethical edge here. A regulated body can influence a room. That doesn't entitle you to steer people where they haven't consented to go. Use your steadiness to make space, not to sell outcomes. Never fake calm to win compliance. If your hands shake, don't hide them with spiritual theater. Anchor your feet and tell the truth in a sentence you can stand behind. Credibility and coherence are siblings. Test yourself in small ways. Notice whether people yawn or swallow after you settle. Both are signs the parasympathetic has taken the wheel. Notice if the volume in the room drops a notch, if chairs squeak less, if speech becomes less clustered. Track your own tells, the precise moment your jaw lets go, the way your peripheral vision returns, the warm spread in the palms. Write these down for a week. You will build a personal dashboard, far more honest than mood. Coherence travels through technology, though it arrives thinner. On a call, put your feet on the floor and your screen at eye level so your neck doesn't beg for help while your mouth pretends everything is fine. Pace your sentences like a long walk, not a sprint. Leave clean silence after you ask a hard question. Don't fill it with hedging. In messages, cut the over-punctuation and apology preambles that teach people to expect you frantic. 1 tidy paragraph will calm more than 3 breathless ones. You're not trying to sound wise. You're letting your state do grammar. Not every situation wants downshift. In crisis, coherence can include crisp activation. Your breath deepens, but your body moves fast. Your voice stays warm while your words come like instructions. After the emergency, you close the loop. Step outside, hands on ribs, long exhale, thank the ground. People remember the human who stayed present when others scattered. That memory becomes part of your presence the next time. If you want a drill, keep it boring and beautiful. Sit for 5 minutes with one hand on your belly and one on your chest. Breathe as if you were teaching the hands to float. Count 5 in, 5 out, and when your thoughts go shopping, come back without scolding. At the end, stand slowly and walk across the room as if carrying a bowl of water to someone you love. Don't spill. That is coherence you can feel without a device. Protect the conditions that make it repeatable. Sleep enough that your nervous system isn't begging all day. Eat in a way that keeps your blood sugar from whipping like a flag. Touch ground or a living thing every day so your body remembers the bigger metronome. Move often enough that your posture can actually sustain the calm you claim. These aren't lifestyle tips. They're infrastructure for influence. Without them, your presence is decoration. Beware the counterfeit. Performance calm, the kind that smiles while vibrating with panic. Rooms can smell it. Children and animals will refuse it. The cure isn't more performance. It's shorter recovery time. Aim for elasticity, the ability to return to center quickly after being moved. Elasticity is what lets you receive a client's story fully and still leave with energy to live your own life. Elasticity is what lets you take a hit without becoming the hit. You won't always get it right. Some days your field will be louder than your intent. That's data. Apologize if you stomped. Repair if you snapped. Leave early if staying would spill. Try again tomorrow. Presence is a practice, not a personality trait. The more often you arrive as one piece, breath, heart, posture, attention facing the same way, the more the world around you remembers its own pieces and reassembles. The quiet room isn't magic. It's you, coherent, long enough for others to find themselves inside the space you kept open. With coherence comes clearer perception, and signal 8 is the one most people whisper about. Seeing and feeling energy, not in the theater sense, no exaggerated gasps, no crystal ball voice, but as the plain, repeatable noticing of how a room reads, how a person's field feels against your hands, how your own body becomes an instrument that reports before language arrives. Sometimes it's visual, a faint halo, a shimmer at the edges, a dimming around someone who hasn't slept, a color cast that makes no optical sense and yet refuses to be dismissed. Often it's tactile, warmth on the palms like standing near a low fire, a cool draft across the forearms where there's grief, a fine static at the fingertips where anger sits under politeness. Occasionally it's pressure. The air feels thick at shoulder height by one person and strangely hollow by another, as if a window were open you can't see. You're not imagining it to feel special. You're allowing data to arrive the way it already does, through a body that's paying attention. The first discipline is boredom. If it can't be repeated, it doesn't earn a headline. Start with the simplest drill, the hand scan. Ask a willing friend to stand, relaxed, eyes soft. Rub your hands together briskly for 3 seconds like you're warming them on a cold morning. Then hold them apart as if you're palming an invisible ball. Let your breath slow until your hands feel warm and a little buzzy. Now, without touching, move your palms a few inches from their body, head to foot, front and back, slowly enough that you could count to 5 at each major zone. Notice texture, thick, thin, prickly, smooth, temperature, warmth, coolness, and movement, pulsing, stillness. Say nothing. When you've finished, write down 3 words for each region that stood out. Later, ask your friend without leading questions, what's going on in your body today? If your notes say thin, cool, hollow around the solar plexus, and they describe skipping lunch from anxiety or a tough conversation they've been rehearsing in their head, that's a data point. 1 data point is interesting. 3 are a pattern. 10 become trustable. Graduate to blind conditions to save yourself from story. Have someone place a small object, stone, fruit, folded cloth, under one of 3 identical bowls while you wait in another room. Return and sweep your hand a few inches over each without touching. Do you feel a temperature drift or a texture shift above one? Guess. Write it down, then lift. Repeat enough times that you can separate signal from wishful thinking. This isn't a party trick. It's how you train humility, by letting reality grade you. If you never check your impressions, your intuition will be theater. If you check them gently and often, your intuition will become a tool. Not everyone perceives the same channel. Some of you will get micro-visuals, a faint aurora, color where there is none, a softening and sharpening at borders that has nothing to do with light. Others will feel weights and breezes. Some will hear tone without sound, like a key pressed silently on a piano inside your chest. Map your default channel and stop envying someone else's. Over time, your other channels may wake. They tend to follow respect. If you keep using what works and verifying it, your system trusts you with more. Discernment is the difference between service and spectacle, data over drama. If the air above a person's left shoulder feels like heat ripples and you jump to attachment, you'll scare them and lie to yourself. If instead you write left shoulder, ripple divided by warm divided by 2 inches off, and later learn they've had a rotator cuff flare that didn't show in their posture, you earn a tiny vote of confidence in your instrument. Keep collecting those votes. They will make you both quieter and more accurate. There's a rule that will save you and your clients. The rule of 3 confirmations. Before you offer an energetic observation, wait for 3 separate supports. 1 from your hands, 1 from the person's report, and 1 from an unrelated sign. Breath change, a microfacial shift, temperature change in the room. If you only have 1, keep it. If you have 2, ask a question instead of making a claim. Anything happening in your upper back lately? If you have 3, you can reflect gently. I'm noticing heat near your left shoulder, and you mentioned pain sleeping on that side. Shall we give that area some attention? This is how you avoid turning the unseen into a circus. Record, correlation, rather than interpretation. Keep a small table in your notebook. Date divided by time, environment, indoors divided by outdoors, lighting, state, tired divided by steady divided by elevated, perception, heat divided by cool divided by texture, person's report, symptom divided by emotion, outcome, felt better divided by no change, divided by worse. Don't look for perfection, look for directionality. If your perception correlates with their report more often after you do 5 minutes of coherence breathing, you've learned something you can use. If you drift into fantasy when you're hungry or when you've scrolled too long, protect your instrument with food and distance. The point is not to be right. The point is to be useful. Distance work will tempt you next. Approach it as a lab, not a legend. Ask a friend in another room to choose quietly between placing their attention on their right hand, right foot, or left foot for 1 minute while you sit elsewhere. During that minute, attend to your own body. Do you feel warmth, tingling, or pressure in the corresponding area? Write the guess, then confirm. Once this is more than chance over 10 tries, proceed to people in another building. If it stubbornly refuses to rise above guessing, don't force a story. You might be built for in-person work. Honor that. Special isn't superior. Specific is reliable. Ethics again. Do not scan strangers in public without consent and then dump your impressions on them. It's intrusive. Your capacity to perceive does not grant you permission to act. Use your skills to make spaces kinder. Choose seats that reduce overwhelm. Soften your breath to lower the tone. Excuse yourself when your field is getting loud, not to collect gossip from the unseen. And when a client asks, "What do you see around me?" hear the deeper question, "Am I safe? And can you help?" Answer that first with your state, then with your craft. A common pitfall is glamour, believing that seeing energy makes you advanced. It can make you noisy. If your observations don't change outcomes, you've only fed your identity. Stay with fundamentals: sleep, food, ground, breath, rhythm. A regulated body perceives more cleanly than an over-caffeinated mystic. Children and animals will keep you honest. If a dog leans into your shins and sighs when you arrive, something in you is trustworthy. If toddlers brighten and then keep playing without needing you, your presence is supportive, not sticky. Those are metrics as valuable as any bionic device. Another trap is overfitting, making every sensation mean something mystical. Sometimes your right palm tingles because you held your phone too long. Sometimes the air feels dense because the room is hot. Start with mundane causes, rule them out, then proceed. Skepticism is not the enemy of subtlety, it is its guardian. You will earn the right to say the rare sentence that matters, "Let's slow around your chest for a moment," because you have swallowed 100 flashy claims you couldn't back. As perception sharpens, your responsibility widens. You will know when to ask the extra question that releases a story someone didn't know they were carrying. You will feel when a session should be shorter than planned, because precision beat duration. You will catch yourself about to say something that would have made you look insightful, but would have muddied the other person's process. You'll stop, you'll breathe, you'll choose their timing, not yours. That choice is the difference between a seer and a servant. In time, the field becomes readable without effort. You'll walk into a room and know where to sit. You'll greet someone and feel the topic before the words. You'll write an email more slowly because you sensed how fast they were already going. You won't need to announce any of this. The world will announce it for you in quieter ways. Fewer misunderstandings, more repairs that actually stick, people leaving steadier than they arrived. That's the point, not fireworks, fidelity. If you trust anything here, trust the boring drills and the small notebooks. Sensitivity becomes skill when it survives verification. Verification breeds humility. Humility keeps you listening. Listening makes the unseen useful, and usefulness, quiet, repeatable, accountable, is how this gift stays clean. Signal 9 is sacred solitude, and it isn't escapism, it's hygiene. You already know the relief of closing a door and feeling the noise evaporate from your skin. Alone doesn't mean lonely, it means decontamination. After a day of small empathic cuts and tiny heroic rescues, your system needs time without requests, so it can give you back your own shape. Sit in the quiet long enough and you'll hear the difference between intuition and urge, between a clean yes and a tired yes. The world celebrates constant exposure. The work requires periodic disappearance. When you withdraw with intention, you are not abandoning anyone. You are returning to the place where guidance can find you. Solitude is where you stop reaching for signal and let signal reach for you. Solitude works when it is rhythmic, not rare. A weekly walk without headphones, a chair by a window every morning before the web touches you, a Sabbath that keeps a hard line around screens and solving. These aren't lifestyle flourishes, they are scaffolding. When you give yourself emptiness on purpose, guidance arrives on time and in proportion. You stop chasing signs because you can hear your baseline. You stop confusing other people's speed for your calling. You stop bleeding into rooms to prove you're useful and start arriving with charge to spare. Make the practices unglamorous and stubborn. The same mug, the same notebook, the same tree. The point is not novelty. The point is a reliable doorway. If you keep that doorway clean, the channel stays honest. Signal 10 is boundaries, not bondage. The shadow of a healer's heart is compulsion, the reflex to rescue so you don't have to feel someone else's discomfort vibrate in your ribs. You call it generosity. Your body calls it a leak. Boundaries are not doors slammed. They are doors named. This is when I'm available and when I'm not. This is what a session is and is not. This is what I can carry and what I refuse, because it would ask me to abandon myself. The moment you say those edges out loud, the field changes. People still bring you their storms, but they stop trying to live in your house, and you stop renting out your nervous system to situations that will not pay you back. Price is a boundary too. Charge in a way that lets you keep doing the work without resenting the work. If you undercharge to feel pure, you will overreach to feel safe. If you overcharge to feel important, you'll perform importance instead of service. Find the number that lets you breathe, rest, study, and still meet people where they are through pro bono you plan rather than bleed into. A fair exchange is part of the medicine. It teaches both sides to honor the invisible labor, your training, your presence, your recovery time. When money is clean, sessions are cleaner. When money is muddy, everything else tries to compensate. Boundaries also speak in the room. When someone hands you their crisis like a grenade, you don't pull the pin for them by matching their chaos. You slow. You let their timing arrive without letting it take command. You ask questions that return agency. Where do you feel that in your body? What choice would be kinder to you in 24 hours? What would staying with yourself look like here? If they try to make you the hero, you step off the stage you didn't build. Signal the truth. I will walk with you, but I won't walk for you. You're not withholding compassion. You're refusing codependency. Real help protects the other person's dignity and your own capacity. Signal 11 is service as discipline. Being chosen is not a title, it's a training plan. Breathe into coherence before you work, so you're not asking a client to regulate around your unprocessed hurry. Use protection practices so people leave lighter without you leaving hollow. Keep ethics you can point to when the situation gets interesting. Confidentiality that isn't casual. Consent that is explicit. Scope that is respected. Referrals you actually make. Seek supervision or mentorship so your blind spots don't become someone else's burden. Study, not for novelty, but for depth. Techniques sharpen, harm reduces, outcomes improve. Make your day a ritual, not a race. Arrive 5 minutes early and give those 5 minutes to breath instead of inbox. Enter rooms through thresholds, even if they're imaginary. A hand on the door frame, a brief bow of the head, a sentence under the breath. Be simple, be kind. Start sessions with clear terms and end them with clear closure, even if the last thing said is a silence that was needed more than one more insight. Put margin between people, 10 minutes that belong to no one. Step outside if you can, and give the exhale to the weather. Your nervous system will thank you with an extra hour of compassion you didn't have to manufacture. Your calendar is your ethics in numbers. If it's packed until your edges fray, your yes is lying. Protect sleep like it's part of the oath. Protect study so you have something to offer beyond personal charm. Protect play so you don't make your calling carry the weight of your entire life. A burnt-out healer becomes a hungry healer, and hungry healers take people's stories and turn them into food. Don't do that. Eat food, rest, move, touch ground. Let other people help you. Build a small circle that tells you the truth. You're tired. Reschedule. You're rushing. Slow. You're hiding. Step in. Community is a boundary you build around your future self. Service also means saying no early when the fit is wrong. If your body shrinks, if your breath scrapes, if your timing goes off by half a beat whenever the same person books again, trust the data. Refer kindly. Write the sentence that respects both of you. I don't think I'm the right practitioner for this season of your work. Here are 2 colleagues I trust. May it go well. You didn't fail. You stayed inside the shape of the help you can offer cleanly. That shape gets clearer the longer you honor it. And your results get cleaner because you stopped pretending to be every instrument in the orchestra. There's a framework I keep privately as a quick audit. Sovereign, a word that reminds me of posture, stillness to hear, orientation to truth, values named, exchange fair, rest honored, edges kept, integrity over image, growth through study, network for support. I don't show it as a slide. I use it when I'm tempted to impress, when my calendar gets cocky, when my kindness wants applause. It brings me back to craft. Craft brings me back to usefulness. Usefulness is the only pedestal that doesn't wobble. In the end, solitude, edges, and discipline keep the channel clean. They sound unromantic next to visions and visitations, but they're how the light gets delivered without burning the courier. You already know the cost of doing this on fumes. Choose the cheaper price up front. Keep the rhythm, name the doors. Do the boring repetitions that let room settle on contact. That's what being chosen looks like when the ceremony's over and the work begins. By now, you've seen the signals and felt the edges. The next move is turning recognition into reliability, testing what's real, training what's rough, and refusing to do it alone. Healers don't graduate by collecting more signs. They graduate by producing cleaner outcomes, more consistently, with less personal cost. That happens when you treat your gift like an instrument. Tune it daily, play it weekly, learn new pieces slowly, and rehearse with a small, honest orchestra. Start with a 30-day map you can actually keep. Make it minimal, measurable, and merciful. Daily, 5 minutes of coherence breathing before you open a screen. 2 minutes of contact with something alive, ground, tree, pet, sky you can name, and a quick note in your log. State in, 3 words. State out, 3 words. 1. Observation. Weekly, 1 hour of nature immersion. 1 dream incubation night with a simple question. 1 boundary rehearsal, role play saying the clean no with a friend. And 1 hand scan session with someone willing to give you unvarnished feedback. That's it. If you try to renovate your whole life, your nervous system will mutiny. If you keep small promises, your system will trust you with more signal. Testing comes first because it protects humility. Keep the drills boring on purpose. The blind bowl game trains your attention not to chase stories. The distance attention test, right hand divided by left hand divided by right foot divided by left foot, trains honesty about your current range. The rule of 3 confirmations trains restraint, hands, person's report, independent sign, or you keep it to yourself. These aren't hoops to please a skeptic in your head. They're filters that keep your practice from becoming theater. Theater burns bright and dies fast. Practice burns slow and lights other people's candles. Training comes next, and it's mostly subtraction. Subtract rush from your breath until sentences land without needing to repeat them. Subtract noise from your evenings so sleep can deliver instruction instead of static. Subtract the heroic impulse from your yes so the work isn't about proving you matter. When you remove what scrambles you, what remains is a coherence that doesn't need a drum roll. People start telling you they feel better for no reason. That's a metric. Note it. If you like frameworks, build one quietly around your day. Open with arrival, feet, breath, intent, midday, reset, 90 seconds outdoors or by a window. Exhale long, eyes on horizon, and closure, hands on ribs. Gratitude for what moved through. Note 1 lesson. Put 10-minute margins between sessions so your chemistry can finish one story before it begins another. Protect 1 afternoon a week for study, not scrolling new modalities, but deepening one you already use. Mastery isn't a buffet. It's bread you bake well enough to feed others. Community is not optional. It's structural. The lone wolf mystic is a romance that ends in exhaustion or arrogance. Build a small circle that values outcomes over aesthetics. 3 to 5 people is plenty. Meet weekly for 90 minutes, 20 minutes each to share a case. What worked, what wobbled, a practice you're testing, and a question you can't answer. The group's job isn't to fix you, it's to reflect you, cleanly, kindly, with receipts. Rotate who leads. Keep notes. Name your blind spots out loud, so they stop running your sessions in secret. If someone drifts into performance, bring them back to practice. What changed for the person you were with? Could they feel their feet when they left? Did they make a choice that held a day later? Outcomes, not aura. Find elders where you can, and let the relationship be formal enough to hold weight. Supervision is not confession, it's calibration. A good mentor saves you months of guessing and keeps your edges from cutting people you meant to help. Pay them. Show up on time with clear questions. Receive correction without turning it into shame theater. If you can't find an elder in your exact lane, borrow one from a neighboring craft. Bodywork, psychotherapy, chaplaincy, hospice, principles travel, consent, scope, pacing, repair. 2 vignettes, so this doesn't float. First, a woman who always left sessions wrung out because she held space by mirroring people's pain until she couldn't tell whose was whose. We cut her sessions by 10 minutes, added the 90-second outdoor reset, and rehearsed 3 boundary lines she could say when the flood started. I'm with you. Let's slow the breath together. I'm going to keep my feet heavy while you speak. Would pausing for water help? 4 weeks later, she reported finishing days with energy to cook. More quietly, 2 of her regulars began arriving less frantic. Second, a man who could see everyone's patterns but kept losing friends because he shared insights like knives. We gave him the rule of 3 confirmations and a new hobby. Counting the breaths between his insight and his mouth, he started asking 1 question instead of making 3 proclamations. 3 months on, he had more clients and fewer apologies to make. Neither changed their essence. They changed their pacing. Build a referral network early and make it real. Keep a list of practitioners you trust, trauma-informed therapists, physicians who listen, body workers with hands you'd let on your own back, financial coaches who understand nervous systems, grief workers who don't rush, spiritual directors who don't colonize. When someone brings you a burden that doesn't belong in your lane, don't stretch to keep them. Refer warmly. Follow up once if appropriate. Your credibility grows each time you choose scope over ego. Your nervous system grows each time you choose rest over grasping. Write more than you post. Keep the little tables from part 7. Add another. Practices effects. 5 minutes coherence before session. Client yawned. Voice slowed. Boundary rehearsal. Said no to misfit client. Slept deeply. Nature, micro-pilgrimage. Recovered in 20 minutes instead of 90. Data quiets doubt better than compliments. When imposter voices rise, open your notebook and read what changed in other people's lives because you kept small promises. That's your license. Renewed. Expect plateaus and design for them. When nothing feels sharp, reduce your inputs. Fewer books, more walks. Fewer opinions, more breath. When everything feels sharp, lengthen your exhale and slow down your yes. Growth is cyclic. The field is seasonal. If you keep grabbing summer, you'll burn your soil. Let winter do its work, and you'll have something to plant. And stay human on purpose. Laugh with friends who don't care what you do. Watch films that make you cry without turning tears into content. Cook food with your hands. Carry bags for an old neighbor. Return a library book on time. Ordinary life is not a distraction from the path. It is the ground that stops the path becoming a costume. People trust healers who still belong to the world. The integration is simple, and it is enough. Test what you think you sense until reality agrees. Train the basics until they're boring. Keep a circle that protects your craft from your ego. Choose scope and rest so your channel stays clean. Measure outcomes so your confidence isn't borrowed from praise. Do this for 30 days and you'll feel the floor under your feet. Do it for a year and people around you will tell you the rooms are different when you're in them. That's the point. Not to be seen as chosen, but to be felt as useful. The rest belongs to the work itself. Purpose is not a title you claim. It's a scoreboard you change. For healers, the old score, likes, labels, mystique, collapses under pressure. The new score is quieter and sterner. Rooms settle around you. Breath returns to people you love. Your boundaries hold. Your body recovers fast. Outcomes repeat. Success is not being known for the light. Success is carrying the light without burning your hands. This is where many stall. They wait to feel worthy before they work, or they work to feel worthy and fray their nervous system thin. Worthiness is not the gate. Practice is. Treat your practice like a sacred container, not a personality project. Containers shape behavior. If your calendar is humane, you'll be humane. If your intake asks real questions, what hurts? What helps? What happens right before you abandon yourself? Your sessions will travel deeper than performance can follow. If your space is simple and clean, people will find their own clarity faster. This isn't about expensive props. It's about reducing friction so the work can do the work. One good chair, one honest table, one reliable ritual of arrival will outperform a room full of purchased mood. Price, schedule, and scope are part of the altar. Price so the work can continue without resentment. If you undercharge, you'll overwork and punish your gift for surviving. If you overcharge, you'll start acting important instead of acting present. Choose a number that pays for rest, study, supervision, and the future you want to steward. Schedule margins as if they were ethics, because they are. The 10 minutes between sessions where you breathe by a tree are the difference between a clean field and a sticky one. Scope keeps you honest. Know what you do, know what you don't, and refer with warmth when the work lives outside your lane. Make your metrics merciful and exact. Track what you can control: preparation, presence, pacing, repair. Track effects you can witness. Did the person's breath slow? Did they name one clean choice? Did they sleep better? Did the conflict resolve without a martyr? Write it down. Data turns mystery into craftsmanship. When praise is loud, data keeps you from floating. When doubt is loud, data keeps you from quitting. A vessel that measures stays humble and useful. Humble and useful is a lineage anyone can trust. Your work should leave a trail others can follow without worshiping you. That means documenting what you do in a way that honors privacy and reveals pattern. Describe protocols, not personalities. Teach people to test their own signals instead of seeking your approval. Share your mistakes as readily as your wins, so the path doesn't get paved with pretense. Legacy isn't a statue, it's a repertoire. Exercises, questions, safety rails that outlasts your schedule. If you leave behind checklists that help another beginner avoid your worst detours, you did the work beautifully. Tend to the human who carries the craft. Not with self-help theater, but with the basics that make presence possible. Sleep enough for dreams to deliver instruction. Eat in a way that doesn't make your afternoons a blood sugar hostage situation. Move so your posture can keep promises your mouth makes. Make one friendship where you can be absurd and unhelpful. Grow one hobby that has no audience. Keep one piece of land, however small, where you feel returned. People can feel when you have a life. It makes your presence less hungry and your guidance more believable. Guard against the glamour that turns callings into costumes. The internet will try to make you an aesthetic. Resist. Wear simple clothes that don't ask for attention you need to spend elsewhere. Use fewer words than you're capable of. Let your brand be outcomes. Calm rooms, honest timelines, clean goodbyes. If you must show your work, show the boring bits, the logbook, the walk outside, the empty chair between clients. The world doesn't need more performance. It needs more practitioners who can hold a moment steady without making it about themselves. Repair is part of the vessel. You will get it wrong. You will speak too soon or too softly. You will keep someone too long because you were afraid to end. You will say yes on a day your body had already said no. Repair quickly. Acknowledge what happened without spiraling into confession theater. Offer amends that fit the breach. Time back, a referral, a clear boundary. The way you repair becomes part of your presence. People trust a practitioner who knows how to return when they wander. Design endings as carefully as beginnings. When a season with a client is complete, don't ghost or cling. Name the completion. Reflect what changed. Offer maintenance practices they can own without you. Bless the distance. This honors autonomy and frees your field to greet the next person without dragging the last story forward. The work is movement. The vessel lets movement happen without tearing. Carry a longer horizon. Ask yourself once a quarter, what am I building that will matter when I'm tired? What am I teaching that will still be true when trends change? Who am I training to do this better than me? Great lineages aren't made of secrets. They're made of practitioners who gave away their best questions and kept improving them together. When you think like this, scarcity loses its teeth. You stop competing with neighbors and start composing with them. Your field grows because you chose generosity over theater. In practical terms, let your invoices, emails, and boundaries be as coherent as your breath. Answer slower and clearer. Say what you mean on the first try. Put your policies where people can see them, written in human words. Decline mismatches, early and kindly. Raise prices like you raise standards, openly, with explanation, in line with the value delivered. When pressure arrives from the outside world, you won't scramble for a persona. You'll lean on the container you've built, and it will hold. At some point, success will feel different. It isn't adrenaline, it's exhale. It's the moment a stranger leaves your space standing taller, taking their own weight in their own feet, choosing a boundary you didn't prompt. It's finishing a week with energy to be a friend, a partner, a parent, a neighbor. It's looking at your calendar and seeing that you made room for your future self. This is not small. This is the point. The world is full of noise that looks like power. You are building quiet that behaves like power. Repeatable, accountable, transferable. If you're serious about carrying this work cleanly, join our free newsletter. What We Can't Host publicly lives there. And for a limited time, you'll also get our ebook at no cost. Miss it now and you'll be catching up later. The link is in the description. Enter your email to receive the ebook and the transmissions that don't travel on algorithms. If you feel this on a deep level, comment, "I get the code."